you all for joining us for the Community Development Committee meeting. I want to note for the record that Mr. Bailey is here officially this month as a duly sworn-in member of the committee. And I am here, and we have Will available by Zoom. Will, are you there?
He is, he's muted.
Well, I was going to say, now, Will, we know you mute a lot, so at some point, just send us a message to confirm you're there. All righty. So I've called the meeting to order. I am going to ask that we defer the approval of the minutes for January 16, 2024. And would like to note that going forward, we will have minutes from our committee meetings. And I think that those could be helpful. Ms. Erica, do you have some helpful?
And in the past, we created meeting summaries and posted them online, but now we're making more official minutes and bringing them back to the committee for approval.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that, but we will defer these. And so committee discussion, before we get into the different things that we have listed here, so in looking at community development, and y'all know I used to work in community development, and we've had a couple of issues that have gone on. One was the recent issue with a request from the Housing Authority. And then we have looked at different consultants. We've been on a few trips. But what I really felt like, and I just discussed this with the mayor as well, and he agrees, we do not have a strategy for community development, like one strategy that everybody is on. And so the way that it should work, or that I want it to work, but I'm gonna say should work, that's better, is that we create the strategy and where we're going, and then we're able to communicate that with our partners. I asked, I don't know, did Ashley find that? I was looking for the chartering information for the Housing Authority. I don't know if Ashley was able to find it or not. But, you know, in talking to the board for the Housing Authority, he simply said, well, what do you want us to do? And then there was silence. And so talking to the mayor, he totally agrees that we need to all get on the same page. And in my opinion is that we will be a lot more effective. And I'm hoping we can get on the same page too. But so one good example to me would have been Booker Washington Heights. We have been in Booker Washington Heights since 2010. And we're still in Booker Washington Heights. But I think that's because we have put some money here, some money there, some money here, some money there. Based on probably council recommendations. I'm just to be honest, or the need, whatever the need was. But because of that, we're still in Booker Washington Heights trying to finish something. Whereas if we put all of our resources, if the Housing Authority has a project in a particular area, we have a project and our partners have a project in that area, we may be able to knock out stuff in 3 years. And people see a realistic change very quickly. And at least it gives the next neighborhood something to look forward to. So that is the background and the basis of why I asked for some of the information today, because in coming up with the strategy, we do want to get a good handle on what we have used it for. Because if we're going to change anything, what does that impact? You know what I'm saying? Like who gets left out? Do we want to leave those kind of things out? So this, for me, this is more of an information session so we can kind of know what we have been doing and how we have been funding it. And so we can plan for the next plan that's due, which is what?
A consolidated plan? It's due in.
The 5-year?
Yes, the 5 years.
So is this a good time or are we
This
too
is the
late?
perfect
Okay,
time.
perfect time, perfect. Write that down. I did something. That's perfect time.
And
Yes,
for strategy, Councilwoman Herbert, you're talking how we spend our entitlement dollars. Is that
It's
the
not just
strategy?
entitlement
or-
though, because, so this is what I would imagine. In a particular year, if we're doing, and I keep using Book of Washington Nights, I guess, but we also would have had David to identify all the houses that needed to be demolished during that time, as, you know, as opposed to, you know, throughout the years. But, and if we were working on parks or if we were doing renovations, but particularly in housing. So for instance, again, I think they're doing it now. Randall, Dora Randall is being worked on by the Housing Authority, and we're doing something in Randall. So that community really is going to see a change, a large change, once you put two different, I guess, communities inside the neighborhood and a park. So I'm not limiting it just to our entitlement dollars. Yeah, and I think it just kind of depends on what the needs of the community are.
Okay, and I think we'll dive into that a little bit during council retreat coming up as well. There's a
And that's
good
what the mayor
session on-
said, yeah. So the mayor said he wants to hear about, y'all may have to do this whole thing again. That's probably what he was saying, as we try and figure out that strategy during the retreat.
Sounds good. Well, I want to introduce Dolly. I think everybody knows Dolly. She's our Community Development Administrator, and she's got her team here as well that she wants to introduce, and we're excited to have them. Felicia is out today, our Community Development Director, but
To go up there, what can I do for you?
are you good if she sits here to do the
I'm
presentation?
fine, as long as the mic can pick her up.
Erica does, yeah, you're good here. Okay. So we'll walk through agenda items 2 through 4 simultaneous. The presentation just rolls through all of those items and answer any questions and obviously take action items from that conversation. So,
Okay, well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Councilwoman Herbert and Councilman Bailey and all that are in attendance today. I have this opportunity and I would like to introduce my staff, my team that is here. They are all new. And so this would be a great opportunity for them to get immersed into this process. So if you will stand up and just introduce yourselves.
I'm Addie Robertson. I'm a program compliance specialist, and I started back in August. My name is Peyton Simmons, and I'm a program compliance specialist, and I started in November. I'm Nicolette Parker, program compliance specialist, and I started in October.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to take that opportunity to do that because the information and what we're doing here today is critical, of course, not only to citywide, but to community development. It impacts us directly. So what I wanted to start off and do is just an overview of the entitlement projects. These are our core entitlement, community development block grant. Of course, that addresses the needs of affordable and economic development, affordable housing, public services, and it benefits those that are LMI. And currently, our estimated allocation for the 23 year right now is a little over $1 million. So we don't get a lot of dollars in CDBG. Our home investment partnership, of course, that is specifically to promote affordable housing for city and local governments, nonprofit sectors, and for-profit sectors to build affordable housing, manage, finance, and do various housing projects. And we receive about $776,000 annually.
Now, one quick question, which one of these requires the organization to be a CHOTO? Or is it
That's-
both of them?
Well, CDBG,
Okay.
yeah. The CHOTOs are the only entity that is able to do new construction.
and currently, we don't have any CHOTOs in the area. is
We
that
don't.
correct?
And I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It's Home that does CHOTOs.
Okay.
CDBG is the community-based development organizations, all these acronyms.
CDCs, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then, of course, our housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. The HOPA program, instead of serving just within the city, it serves 6 counties. And of course, that is for housing programs for those that are HIB eligible, as well as supportive services to help them. And we receive about 1.8 million. So over the last 10 years, and our team dove into all of the activities that support these particular funding sources, CDBG, Home, and HOPWA. Over the last 10 years, we've expended $20 million in CDBG. And that is entitlement and also program income and revolving loan fund, okay?
Can you explain program income and revolving loan fund to Mr. Bailey?
Absolutely. Program income is income generated from CDBG activities. So it could be economic development, it could be fees associated with different programs. And so that it comes back into the pot, and then we're able to reuse those dollars for eligible activities. The revolving loan fund is a form of program income, but it's very specific to housing programs. So it's only used for housing loans and rehab. So that money gets funneled back into the housing programs, and it is reused over and over. It's revolving.
And I participated in that program, so each of my loan payments go back to, I have a first with First Citizens and a second with First Citizens because that's who services ours. But each payment goes back into the fund so that more money is there to loan to other people.
So it continuously revolves.
Yeah, revolving.
And so that is why we've had about $20 million, over 20 million. And then the activities, of course, public services, those are activities that are specifically, and we'll get to that in the next slide, but to do services within the city. So whether it's mental health or healthcare, job training, all of the services that impact individuals.
And do we have a listing of what some of those are?
So in your report, there is a 10-year report. So we went back 10 years and we've listed every activity that we have funded. So you'll see it by year and the types of activities.
The 6 counties on the HOPA fund,
HOPWA?
do we manage that for all 6 counties or?
Yes, we do. We are, the City of Columbia is the grantee, so we get the direct award from HUD. And then we have sponsors. We have a total of 5 or 6 sponsors. They actually do the direct service, and they serve those counties. So, for instance, we do have Saluda County as a part of our consortium. And there's only one of our sponsors that services Saluda County, and that's Upper Savannah Care Services. So there's a variety of services that are done, but only those 6 counties we can provide services for those.
So we touch the sponsors and they
Right.
touch the individuals.
And they touch the individuals, and it's basically a pass-through. We pass those funds through to those sponsors to do direct service.
And what do the compliance folks do with respect to those funds?
I'm sorry, say that?
What do your compliance folks do? with
Oh,
respect to
well,
those
those, they do all the work. So on a daily basis, compliance is the team that looks at the funding that comes in, the reimbursements. These are all reimbursable grants. And so all of the funds that come in, we have to make sure that that information is eligible. They also are the program managers. So they're managing these programs, whether it's HOPWA, CDBG. They're the ones that are responsible for making sure that these agencies, nonprofits, are on task. And so they're doing the program management as well. Thank you. So you can see there's a variety of activities through Home and HOPWA. HOPWA being 14 million that we've expended over the last 10 years. And you can see the counties and the types of services that we provide.
And when we talk strategy, it's worth noting over the last, I think, 5 years, Dolly might correct me on that exact timeframe, we've really kept most of the regular CDBG dollars for city projects such as resurfacing roads, park projects. We've done a lot of park projects with CDBG dollars. There is an opportunity to make some of that available to partner agencies, but again, we only get just over $1 million a year. It's not a whole lot of funding, so we've deliberately spent that on city assets in the recent timeframe. So that's a strategy point, that if that's gonna change, we'll wanna know that too.
Well, and yeah, and I think that's why I wanted to have all of the information so folks can see. I personally don't think we can do a whole bunch of housing with $1 million from CDBG.
Right.
We just can't. So that is,
And CDBG dollars, unless you're.
the CHOTO.
the
No, CDC.
Does infrastructure, not vertical.
I'm sorry, say that again?
CDBG dollars cannot do vertical construction, is that right?
Unless you're a CBDO, yeah. So they
You just
can't,
said another one, CBDO?
yeah,
That's another-
community-based development organization, that's CDBG. They're the only ones using CDBG funding that can
Wow.
do new construction.
And do we have any in Columbia?
Not that I'm aware of, not designated. And that's a designation that we process that you have to go through HUD to do that.
And then home dollars can do new construction, so that's a different bucket that has been used to
And
help
your CHOTO.
gap
Yeah,
funding
with the
for projects.
CHOTO, yeah. But it's not a lot of money to do major stuff, so, all right.
So just continuing with the overview, we also have congressional grants, awards, and those are the Home ARP, Home American Rescue Plan, and the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act funding. And so that's just a synopsis of what we've received and where we are in the process of expenditures.
And now this is one question that really isn't related. The neighborhood Love Your Block grants, what does that come out of?
It's the general fund.
Is that why it's so,
It's administered by community development, but that's the
that's
general
why it's so
fund dollars.
little?
Right.
Yeah.
It's general.
That's good. That makes sense.
It's general fund program income, I believe, so correct me if I'm wrong on that.
So general fund is funds that the city earns from taxes and all that other good stuff.
It's not the general fund, like a budget allocation, it's like, Missy Gentry said, was that?
The original source of funding was general fund, that again, we've used it in a way that we have revenue coming back that then can do additional projects.
Yeah, that's from the,
It's only $12,000.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
yeah, it is not a lot. But it's actually generated from those housing loans that are above LMI. So we had designated funds for those through general fund, established with general fund, and that's a revolving. So those dollars come back to community development, and we use those dollars that are classified as general fund because they're not, loan pool, because they're not federal dollars.
And they don't have the same restrictions as all the federal dollars. That's why those are
That's pretty
the
good.
that's the right funding source for that use.
So under CDBG, there are a couple of categories. Public services, of course, I talked about that a little earlier, that addresses the needs of the community for various needs. And then there's non-public service. And so those are where you will find, your acquisition, your public facilities improvement, economic development. That is the pot of money that has generally, since 2017, really been focused on city projects and funding.
Oh, the public services portion?
the non-public
Oh,
service.
non-public, okay.
The non-public service. Those have been really focused on city projects that Missy mentioned earlier.
And so I do have a question. Where would Homeworks fit?
They would fit under non-public service.
Okay.
Eligibility is based on the activity that you do. So that is housing rehab, which means that is non-public service. And of course, all projects that we do, of course, they have to align with the consolidated plan priorities, funding criteria, and are subject to all compliance requirements under HUD regulations. The priorities for, well, I'll go on to the next slide before I do that.
Oh, can you tell Tyler a little bit about the NOFA process, or is that a part of this?
It is a part of this.
Oh, never mind.
Lots of acronyms.
Yeah.
So if
HUD is good at acronyms.
if you hear me saying an acronym, please stop me because sometimes it's a foreign language and want to make sure everybody understands what it means. So the city's 5-year consolidated plan and annual action plan process, the next consolidated plan will cover the year 2025 to 2029. We are currently ending the current 5 years. We're in the 4th year right now. And the 5th year will be 24-25, which is the next fiscal year for us.
So that means we don't have to have this done this year. We'll be submitting it next year.
Yes, but the
This time.
process
Right.
begins this year because as you see, it's a long process.
Well, that's what I was worried about, okay.
So components of the consolidated plan really is really to help, of course, the jurisdictions assess their affordable housing and community development needs, and to market conditions. And it is heavily data-driven, and it also is driven by community input and outreach. So that is the focus. These are the components, the consultation and citizen participation. The actual consolidated plan itself, it covers multi-year, so it's a 5-year, 5 years worth of priorities and goals that are assessed. And also, in that process, it assesses the housing needs, community development needs, and the analysis of housing and economic market conditions. So there's a lot of data that goes into this particular plan. And in addition to the plan, to the 5-year plan, we also simultaneously do the first year of the annual action plan. So, and that is, the consolidated plan is made up of 5 years of action plans. And each year, we have to tell HUD how we're going to utilize our dollars based on the priorities that we have set.
Oh, so when we have had a change in plans, we have had to go back and amend or
Sometimes, yes,
one of those, something,
substantial amendment. Right, I think,
yeah.
yeah.
Something. Okay, but it did, the thing is, but it's doable.
It is doable, yes. And of course, like any other plan, plans change as time goes on, so you can always go back and amend. But this process is really dedicated to making sure that our priorities and our goals are set for the 5 years. Because every activity that we fund must meet it has to assist in those priorities and goals, so. And of course, that's the action plan, and then the end of the process is at the end of the year, we do we do a consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, a CAPER. Okay, so that's the closing. So that is the entire process of the consolidated plan there.
That seems very straightforward.
Yeah.
I was about to say something.
So not to complicate or confuse, but community development will have a consolidated plan. Planning will be doing a comprehensive plan update too. So we don't have that on our topic of conversation, but there are two different plans that will be sort of following the same cycle.
And do you all work together in development of those?
Yeah, and we do incorporate that information into our plan as well.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the data.
The data.
Okay.
Absolutely. So this is just to give you a timeline, just very general, of how this process works. Of course, so in March, we'll begin, because we have in the past had a consultant. So we procure this process. And so that gives us time to get the consultant on board. June through July, we start with public input meetings and gathering data. We do various electronic surveys that we send out as well to all citizens.
Are the electronic surveys effective? Do you get good numbers out of those?
We do, because
Is it better than the in-person numbers?
I would say
Okay, wait,
they are,
let me back up.
yeah.
Have the in-person numbers got better? It used to be more staff than people. Have those numbers gotten better?
So for these particular meetings, yes.
Okay.
The in-person, because we are going to each council district, because of the process in which we take, we go to each council district. We also do a specific meeting for stakeholders. And that is all of our partners, any entity that is involved in the city, which is quite a few. That's your medical professionals, your schools, your universities, school districts. All of our partners are part of this process. And those meetings are heavily attended. And then in addition, the electronic surveys, we specify those surveys. We send them to stakeholders. We have them that are published for citizens in neighborhoods. We have them that are even sent to city council members. So we want to get everybody's input in our departments. So there's various input strategies for that.
So my next question would be, from HUD's perspective, are they looking for any one of these groups or categories to get the most attention in what is ultimately done with the strategy? So what I'm saying is, do they want us to make sure that we do what the citizens want? Or do they, is there a preference, and will they come back and say, well, the citizens said they wanted all of these things and you all chose to do something else? Or they want to make sure we just get input from each of the stakeholders?
They want to make sure that we're getting the input, that we are focusing, our dollars on the needs of the community. However, that is, put out, whether it be through the surveys, in person, city council direction, citizen input, and our communities are very vocal, right? So they want to be heard. And yes, all of that information, all of those responses, they're summarized and they're a part of the document. So they are sent in. So HUD will see, the needs of the community. So moving on with the timeline, we go through this strategic plan and housing analysis. And then in October, there is a NOFA process we begin for the action plan. And that's the Notice of Funds Availability. That's what that means. And this is where the process begins, where we put applications out, guidelines out for individuals to apply. In the past, it's only been for public service entities, the Mercies, the Fast Forwards, the
Give them some, yeah, I'm just trying to give them some examples.
So those are examples of some of our public service entities.
Who received the NOFA? Who get notified about this?
They are, everyone's notified. We publish it, we do a posting in the paper, we post it on our website, social media, we do, we put it out there. However, public services is a very small, it's a small pot of money. And so, we normally have maybe right around $240,000. That's it, for that pot of money.
And so Tyler, that would, one sec, that would be like when nonprofits come.
Right.
And ask you for 30, 40, 50, $3 million, then I say the NOFA process for the funds that we have available, because we don't have a process where we just fund grants. Yeah, so CDBG is the only thing that we've had consistently for, God knows how many years, but normally that is where I direct folks to go, unless it's a city need, like it's something the city may want. But if it's a group coming in and they need funds, I generally refer them to wait for the NOFA process.
Well, and the compliance associated with HUD dollars is much more stringent than any other dollars we'll ever touch. So it has to be an organization that can meet eligibility and compliance.
And so we do a workshop prior to the application being submitted, because we want to make sure entities that are looking to apply, know that it's administratively heavy. And the regulations are massive for that. So that's the application, we do the application workshop. And the applications then are normally turned in or normally due in December and January. And this is for both CDBG and HOPWA. So we're doing all of this simultaneously, right? And then in February, we do recommendations and we go on and draft the consolidated plan and the action plan based on the recommendations for funding. And then, the public hearings. And now the public has an opportunity again to have their voices heard on, we've taken all of this information, now we've put it in, we've drafted in a plan. So we put the plan out and we have 2 public hearings based on the recommendations and all of the activity, the priorities that have been set, and they have opportunity to voice their opinions once more.
And the role of the Citizens Advisory Committee for Community Development in this process.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Sure. The CAC, they are tasked, they make the recommendations. They review the applications for CDBG and for HOPWA. They make the funding recommendations. Staff is there to assist, but those recommendations are made by the CAC. And they are the ones that move that process forward. We assist them, but they move that process forward.
So after they make a recommendation, it goes to staff? It goes straight to,
It goes, when they make the recommendations, it goes into the draft plan. So those recommendations are going right into the draft plan. And that's what we use to actually draft the plan. And the CAC does do the presentation normally when we're staffed. They do the presentation to City Council for the recommendations they have made.
so when would this process start with? So right now, we're going into the summer. So this process with the CAC will begin soon as well?
So right now, we're trying to make sure that we are fully staffed on the CAC. This is why it's important for the CAC members, for us to have them. We are currently in the 24-25 NOFA process. We have very limited CAC members, so staff is having to help with that process right now.
So what are the numbers now that we
I
did
think
the
we're done.
recent appointments?
I think there's only 3 that was missing, and We appointed two meetings ago, and then we appointed that last meeting, so I think,
There's a
City.
vacancy for the mayor. I know. And I think there's still,
I know
Yeah,
I'm-
there's still a
yeah.
vacancy with,
With one, okay, because I know I made mine.
mhm.
So Dolly, the recommendation for the 24 action plan will come probably to this committee is what I think we've been doing
Yes,
in April. Is that right? And have we used this
Yes.
committee as one of the public hearings? I can't remember.
we used it as so we've used it as, a public, yes, we did. We used it as a public forum.
And we did it here.
We did it
We
here.
didn't expect a lot of the public to come.
No, we promoted it.
No, we promoted it.
And then you
We-
do one
we-
virtually as well?
We
We didn't
used,
expect folks to come if we were gonna do it here.
but we do another, this is not the only forum we do. We do a public hearing. So we actually,
I don't wanna conduct,
we actually do another,
we do it different.
a public hearing, and then we normally come here as a public forum to ensure that everybody has opportunity to have voice. So there is more than just one avenue there. But the final public forum is for city council to kind of make sure they're aware and to move that action plan forward.
So the new appointees will be brought up to pace with where we're at within the current action plan cycle.
Absolutely, yes.
And so where are we now? Okay,
we're right in the middle of 24-25 action plan.
Yes,
So new appointees will at some point be contacted and start helping y'all.
absolutely.
Do they still meet? They usually meet once a month or
The
every
second
month?
Tuesday,
Every month.
the second Tuesday of each month.
So there's submittal, there's applications in hand that they'll start reviewing, or is that already in process?
That's already in process, because we couldn't wait for that process. We have to keep it moving, so yeah.
And maybe we'll make sure that
So they will have final recommendation,
Okay.
right? In March, they should have be able to review information and help us with that process.
And do the committee appointments, do they have to go through any special process to start attending the meetings?
We do, we do an orientation. We do an orientation because we want them to be educated on the information because it's a lot. So-
Who runs or schedules the orientation for y'all?
I do.
You do?
Along with Peyton, who is our liaison. Okay.
And now I know this is totally off, so big picture, I should know this, but big picture, what did we do for the current calendar year? I know we did a park with
Did,
CDBG.
T.S. Martin and Hyatt Park, we did home loan programs, the rehabilitation program, I don't have that in front of me.
So we've Randall Park, Randall Avenue, Pocket
Right.
Park, we've added T.S. Martin and Hyatt, phase 4 and 3 and 4 of those parks. And OBO is doing their
CRR.
CRR program, the commercial reinvestment,
Retention and.
retention and
Recruitment.
reinvestment.
It's way too many words.
Yeah.
The old facade, yes. Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying.
I know.
It was real easy
Oh,
before.
The facade program.
Yes.
Which is no longer a thing. Now
It's
it's
commercial
CRR.
retention and recruitment, or recruitment and retention.
Recruitment,
It is the facade program,
Yeah.
rebranded.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we have those are the major non-public service projects that are going on for 23, 24.
all right. And so the reason why I think that this information is important is because we need to know, like, how this impacts parks, how it impacts, So have we ever had a specific strategy for how we use the public service funds? Like whatever that, so I know Fast Forward and, no one say her name. Dee, yeah. Teresa thinks just like Miss Wilson thinks just like I do. But I know that she does have, for instance, some flexibility. So one of the things like I would think of is, and this is just totally throwing something out in the air, but if we're focused in a certain area and we also see that, they have a lot of kids or grandparents that need computer skills. Well, maybe we can work out something so that Dee's time working with whatever she's doing, helps a few people, identify 5 or 10 people or something like that.
So we've currently, in the last 2 years with Public Services, has had a strategy to support homelessness,
I like it.
homeless services. So the agencies that were funded under Public Services are also agencies that support the Rapid Shelter.
Okay.
So that has been a strategy. The focus has been on homeless services. So that's what the public service dollars have been used for. Now, they may do a few other things in their grant, but the focus, like you said, maybe they're gonna do 20 people that support the Rapid Shelter, so.
Okay. So I think the only other thing that I don't think we've covered in here that will be a part of the plan is the areas that we're gonna target.
So
Go ahead.
you said the focus has been on, for public services, whether it's rapid shelter, stuff like that, right?
Right.
How did y'all decide to focus on that?
So that was a priority that came from city administration for us to utilize those dollars or to focus those dollars on homeless services as the Rapid Shelter was forming. And so what we did is normally public services can be open to any type of service, but we do have the flexibility, and that's the good thing about HUD. They give you parameters, but they don't design your programs. So if you have specific focuses, then you can set that parameter, and that's what we did with those dollars.
Do we use any for childcare?
We don't right now, but we have in the past. I believe the last entity that used for childcare was Homeless No More. Homeless, they did their childcare. We funded that program.
What about job training?
We've done job training in the past, and you'll see in that 10-year report, there are specific activities that address those areas. So we've done job training, we've done childcare support and services, so just a wide variety of public service activities.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And so is it safe to say, I guess in the last, maybe I'm looking at the last page, because I'm also trying to get an idea of, I guess in the last couple of years, we mostly used funds as a whole, CDBG, in-house and homeless services. That's pretty consistent, okay.
The non-public services we use for in-house activities, park projects,
Right.
resurfacing, sidewalks, lighting, those type of activities within the targeted communities.
And so how far does 200,000 go with street paving?
So that would be the non-public service, so it's more like 800,000. We did Booker Washington
That's what
Heights
I'm
a
saying,
few
like,
years
if you-
ago,
if
and
you
it was
allocated 200.
500,000 of it. So the whole Booker Washington Heights neighborhood took a large part of the non-public services
So what's
funding.
that?
And we've resurfaced, Robert's looking right now. With these dollars, you have to be within a targeted community. There's not many city-owned roads within those communities that we have not touched yet. 70% of the roads are DOT owned, and he's looking again, because it's been a while, but we've done a lot of the resurfacing in the targeted communities with CDBG dollars.
And then what about sidewalks?
We haven't really dealt in sidewalks. We've not gotten the request for it.
Oh,
But as a project, so,
We're looking at street lighting in one community, the Edisto, or am I calling, the Homes for Hope project that was
Wiley
developed a few
Street
years ago
project.
in Edisto Court. There's no streetlights there, so that's a conversation we're having with Public Works of what would it take to add pedestrian style lighting in that community. So that's a consideration for the future as well.
no, tell me what pedestrian style.
Street lights, just,
The
because
ones
right
that you
now, if
see
you
on
walk
that.
that community, that's new homes, great new project, there's no street lights.
lamp posts, kind of.
Okay. Is there any difference in the big ones you see like going down Farrow Road versus what you see inside?
There
the neighborhood?
are, a lot of so we lease from Dominion, the majority of our streetlights. I think there's like 9,700 streetlights in the city that we lease. They're your normal Cobra heads, your big tall ones that are your, the decorative lights we own. There's logic behind that. If you lease them from Dominion, you pay way too much forever, and you can buy them up front for a lot less.
Oh, I
Think
see what
about
you're
those
saying.
nice street lights you see out in Shandon.
The pedestrian style, so
Pedestrian
you,
ones.
Elmwood
Nice
Park
thing.
has decorative lighting,
Sorry.
So if we go into the Edisto Court community, we were talking about decorative style lighting. So your black posts, usually they're fluted, not always, but,
I'll make a drive through.
yeah. Elmwood Park has decorative
We have
and a
nice
good
ones
bit
in
of
Elmwood
that.
Park. Oh, nice.
Well, that's very good.
So it's something you should look, I mean, definitely, street lighting makes a big difference in
It does.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I think it makes a difference between somebody moving in a neighborhood and not moving in.
It
I
does.
looked, when I was looking, I wanted, like, nice streetlights, and sidewalks.
You want to be able to walk
88.
down the street and feel safe and see where you're
Right.
going.
Yeah, we have very, very few sidewalks in neighborhoods in my district. I don't think we have any in my neighborhood, but my neighborhood is like a little cubby hole. If that's the right word. Anything else you all think we need to be cognizant of? Oh wait, that's what I wanted, targeted areas. When are we gonna fine tune our targeted areas?
So this is a great time to do it. Anytime when we are developing a new action plan or doing a new consolidated plan, it's always a good time to revisit and look at the targeted neighborhoods or redevelopment areas that have been designated.
What are the ones that we have now?
So there's Booker Washington Heights.
But we've had, and I love Booker Washington Heights,
There's-
but they've been there at least since 2010.
Eau Claire redevelopment area.
How long has that been? At least
Since
2010?
inception of the city, I think. No, I don't know. It's been for a long time. They've been there a long time.
Okay.
There's the Lion Street, King Lion Street. There is Belvedere, Pinehurst, Brandon Acres, Cedar Terrace.
These are
These are.
we're targeting all of these? We can't target.
I'm done, I'll get a list later.
And we have a map as well we can
Yeah,
share.
and,
Well, I'm listening.
and the last one is Edisto Court.
Because I was listening for some in District 1, so I was listening hard. So is it just one in District 1?
That's the Eau Claire, right?
Yes.
But it's a massive area.
Yeah, I do need to see what all that
So
entails.
so there are maps for that. We can make sure you get those.
And the only reason I bring that up is it's really hard to have an impact if you're spread across 7 different areas. And I think for community development, we need to decide When I did the facade, I followed a plan. We had a retail study. And the retail study, someone else really made the decisions before I even had, I mean, really, someone else had made a decision on where were they gonna do the retail studies. And so we followed the retail studies that were done. And the good thing about that is I could tell you in 2 years where we were gonna be and in 4 years where we were gonna be, because we did not deviate from the plan. And if we can start at least finding a way to really focus for a short period of time and have an impact that people can see. What I like about it is it kind of motivates people to say when they get here, because, you know, we're coming, that's probably the bigger issue. We're coming, what the potential is. So I would like to hear some recommendations on that, as well as just an assessment on with the targeted areas. Do we feel that we have met the objectives, or are we still striving? Are there some that we haven't been able to do anything in? I'm assuming we've been able to do something in all of them.
Over the years, yes, but some a lot less than others.
Right, and so I guess, just looking at how we approach that. Do we need to just wait and do one? Or do we need to put all resources into 3? Something like, do y'all understand what I'm saying? But I think all that information will help us at the retreat when we're just trying to figure out, well, maybe this is, you know, not the best time to do this area or that area. I think that's all that is coming to mind. Anything else? Anything I'm not thinking about that y'all are thinking about? So Ms. Wilson, I talked to the mayor coming in and we had a conversation about, in talking to the housing authority, they asked, well, what do you want us to do? And I said, well, we're figuring out what we're doing in, you know, with our community development dollars. But hopefully we'll get the charter from Ashley. But we chartered Columbia Housing Authority and we need to work closer with them so that we're just telling them, this is where we're going. We need you to come here too, or this is where we're going and we can't get over here. Can y'all do over there? So that we're working, so that they are assisting the city in the goals of the city. And then there would not be any surprises and folks not know who's on first or who's on second. And the mayor really liked that too, we need to dictate it. But in order to dictate it, we gotta know what we're gonna dictate. So I think this is a good time now that we're going into the 5-year plan. This might be fun, Tyler.
And I think that's also timely with, you mentioned the retreat discussion, Madam Chair, because we just met this morning to sort of help begin to formulate that agenda. No, I'm not on the mic. But that is a huge part of the agenda for me, is the strategy, economic and community development strategies. Lots of great things happening right now, lots of great conversations, but really why all of you are together to really get some good direction on just what you're saying. And I think you're right, having this type of information coming into the retreat will be another set of data that we probably want to bring to the table, but I think it's going to come together really nicely. And you know, some of the other, I guess, external expertise that we've been talking about too, bringing that to bear, that they need this information as well. I mean, everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction.
Yeah.
And some of that guidance from you all on what truly should be the targeted areas, the corridors we're going after, how many, what are we gonna focus on and really focus on and get done? And use public and private partnerships, collaborations with Columbia Housing, all of that. So
Yeah, and
that'll be helpful.
I think, go in real hard to one area and leave. Oh, cause that was another thing. Whenever CDBG was in Belvedere and Booker T. Washington, facade was on Beltline. you know, just trying to put it all together so that people really see, because that's the whole point. Y'all know we're working and doing stuff, but folks say they, you know, never see what we're working on. And so I think if you do a big impact in a short few years, people get to see it, and then they know, just wait till we get to get to your area. Anything else? We're right at 2:00, and that means because Will shuts off usually at 2. Anything?
We had one final,
Oh,
report out on the town and gown.
oh,
It's just an update real quick from
I'm
Peyton.
sorry. Tell me what y'all said about Fortis. I can't
Our
remember.
recommendation is not to include them at this point, based on the other, I think, 6 colleges and universities. They're different in nature, and we can obviously evolve as time goes, but I think we focus on the ones that are housed here. But they seem to be across the country.
I looked into it and it just adds a little bit of if they're operating in Columbia, are they included? So Clemson with facilities, MUSC, you just open, which we can open that door, but it is a wider door.
I got you. Yeah, because and I honestly, I had heard of it, but I saw a commercial and like right here in Columbia, and I'm, So, no, but I just wanted to make sure we had an answer to that question.
Or you don't know that?
I don't know if they're
Yeah,
private, but they're
they
not
are
only in
private.
Columbia, they're across.
They're like a Phoenix.
Yeah, private.
Words. But
Yeah.
really good update since we decided to move forward in the last meeting that I was not here for. The mayor has sent written and email communications to all the university presidents. And so far, we have 3 on board. We're awaiting responses. No one's not on board yet. And we've also begun conversations with the International Town and Gown Association for them to be the facilitator of the strategic planning in May. And we're working on identifying a location in Columbia for that at the moment too. The goal is to have that done before June, before the midst of summer, because we know these institutions will have graduation and we want to get that sweet spot before June. And then finally, we've started working on which staff can attend the conference at the beginning of June to really get the meat of what Town and Gown can do and what they're already doing across the country, and also invite schools to send representatives if they'd like. So it's very interactive, and when we go for our first official meeting at the beginning of the school year, that everyone knows exactly what's going on and it can be productive from the get-go.
And is there a cost associated with the folks helping us out with the strategic planning?
Most likely, and at the moment, within reason, it's in the current community development, I believe, area.
The funds.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure, we don't have a price yet.
Yes, yes, we haven't gotten that.
Okay.
Which 3 university presidents responded?
Columbia International, Columbia College, and then USC.
Got it, that was your.
He was quick.
And those letters have been out 2 weeks, is that right?
Probably about a week hitting the post
So
office.
we've got a little bit of time left. We'll follow back up with the ones that have not yet.
Well, that is very good. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate everyone. Great meeting, very informative. I am going to put on my reading glasses and get the leads lists and let y'all know if we have any changes. Madam Clerk, we would like to adjourn the meeting. Is there a consensus? Tyler?
There's a consensus.
Is Will still here? I'm sorry, is Mr. Brennan still here? No, he's not done. Okay, thank y'all so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.